Can you add all the numbers in your list? Let's find the total. So first of all, I'm gonna ask the user to introduce all the numbers separated by spaces. So numbers will be an input asking to the user numbers separated by spaces, for example. Alright, and after that, I'm gonna use the function split so that we can convert this input into a list of elements separated by spaces in this case. So the split function will use all the elements we have in numbers, and it will create a list with those elements using the space as a separator of elements. Okay, I hope you understand. Now let's move on. After that, I'm gonna create total, which we will start it at 0. Okay, and basically here we will add all the numbers of the list, but at the beginning, of course, it's 0. Now we are gonna loop through every number that the user has introduced. So for n in numbers, for example, okay, we will convert each number to a float, and then we will add it into total. So basically total, boom, and float of n. Okay. All right. As a curiosity, this line right here, it's the same as doing this: total plus float, yeah, of n. Okay. So these two ways are it means the same, doing both things. But in this case, we will do this because it's faster. So yeah, I wanted to mention that. And after that, we can print the sum of numbers, which is our total. And the exercise is solved. Now, let's see the execution. Okay, so numbers separated by spaces. In this case, I'm gonna say 1, 2, 34, 5, 99, and 105, for example. So in this case, the sum is 246. Very, very, very easy. What happens if you multiply every number in your list? Let's see the magic result. Let's go. First of all, we will ask the user to introduce numbers separated by spaces. So for example, numbers will equal to an input asking the user numbers separated, I think, by spaces. All right. Perfect. Apart from that, we will also add the split function here, which basically it takes all the elements we have in numbers, okay, using the space. So basically it creates a list of those numbers using the space as a separator. Okay, let's move on. So now I'm gonna create product, which will be equal to 1 at the beginning. Why? Because if we equal it to 0, then we will erase everything each time we multiply. So it makes no sense. So that's why this is the best way. Now we go through every number in our list. So for example, for x in numbers, okay, and now we create a loop. And what are we gonna do in each iteration of this loop? Let's see. We will convert each number to a float, and then we will multiply it by product. So product is the same as product multiplied by the float of x, which it will be each number every iteration. This is the long way to do it, but if we want to do it shorter, we can do this way. Boom, and float of x. Okay, this is very simple syntaxis. I hope you understand. Now let's move on. Now we are gonna print the total product of these numbers. So let's print and say product, and then I'm gonna use the product variable that we created, and that's everything. Let's try. In this case, I'm gonna try with numbers 2 and 3. This is 6 already, this is 12, and this is 48, if I'm not mistaken, 48 and 10. This should be 480, right? Oh yeah, for sure, it works. I'm gonna try it again, in this case with some stupid numbers, I don't even know. But then we're gonna add here a 0, which it will make everything, like it will make the product to be 0, right? So let's test, and the product is 0. Perfect, just as we were expecting. Who's the biggest number? Find the giant in your list, using Python, of course. Let's go. So we start the exercise, and we already have here a list of numbers, in this case we see that 11 is the biggest number. But let's find this giant using Python and coding. Let's just start by defining the largest number. Okay, and in this case we will assume that the largest number is the first element of this list. So basically I'm gonna say that it's a float. This is very important to convert this type, like the type of this element, into a float, because it can be a decimal number. And numbers, the first element, which in Python it's always with index 0. And now we are gonna check and we're gonna see if we find a bigger number than the largest number. So let's say if this number, okay, is bigger than the largest at that moment, okay, so in this case it means that the largest is no longer the old value you used to have, but now it becomes the n. Okay, I hope you understand, but I think it's a very simple logic. Just remember that in Python we have to say that it's a float number, because we have to do this comparison using the type of element that it is. So in this case it's also another float number. Perfect, let's move on. Well, basically we are almost done. We only have to print at the end, so outside our loop we have to print saying largest number, for example, and then we are gonna use the largest value. The largest value we already created. Boom, that's everything. Let's test it out. So let's see, and boom, in this case the largest number is 11. Now we are gonna make it even more difficult for Python, and I'm gonna use some different numbers as 32.5 and 90.7, minus 1, for example, 0, and also 91.2, for example. In this case, we clearly see that the biggest number is 91.2. So let's see. I'm gonna run the code and boom, surprise, the largest number is correctly identified. Ever wondered what position each item has in your list? Let's reveal their spots. Okay, let's go. First of all, I'm gonna ask the user to enter some words separated by spaces. And I'm gonna say that items, for example, it's an input. So when we do an input, we are expecting an answer from the user. Saying, for example, words separated by spaces. Perfect. And then I'm gonna apply the function split, which basically it will convert these items we have here into a list using the separator as using the space as a separator. Okay, so that's predefined. If I say nothing here, I could say, for example, using the dots. But in this case, I'm gonna say nothing because the function, it already uses the spaces as separator, which is exactly what we want. So yeah, let's move on. Now I'm gonna loop through each item using its length. So for example, for n in range of length of items. So in this case, we are creating a loop of the same repetitions, like the same iterations as the range of items. So let's say that items has 5 different words. So in this case, we will create a loop of 5 different iterations. And now I'm gonna print the index and the item that belongs to that index. So print index, and in this case, the index is the n, all right? And then I'm gonna, for example, draw an arrow here and say that that index belongs to the element, in this case, from items, n. Okay, that's how we access to a specific element of a list using an index. And that's everything. I hope you understand, because this is very, very important in Python, and it's one of the I would say one of the biggest lessons in Python. So now we are gonna test the code word separated by spaces. Let's say house, for example, flat, let's say village, and let's say Arnau, which is my name. And in this case, the index 0 of this list is house, so it's the first element. Index 1 is flat, index 2 is village, and the last index, number 3, is Arnau. So what's the biggest lesson from this exercise, that in Python, the first index of a list, it's always the index 0, not 1. And that's everything. Feeling lucky? Let's pick a random item from your list and see what fate decides. Let's go. So first of all, let's import this module, which is called random, that it's gonna help us a lot when we have to pick this random item. Now we are gonna ask the user to introduce these items, okay, separated by spaces. So I'm gonna say items, it's an input, asking the user to introduce, well, for example, let's say items separated by spaces. But now I'm gonna convert this into a list, right? I'm gonna use the function split, which will automatically take the space as separator, and it will create a list of these items using the space as separator. Let's move on. And now we are gonna pick one random element from this list. So let's say choice. It's gonna be a random choice from our list of items that we already have. And that's how we pick like a random item from a list. Finally, I'm gonna add print here saying random choice, and I'm gonna use here the choice variable that we defined, which it will be our like item picked just on random. Okay, so let's test this exercise. Items separated by spaces. In this case, I'm gonna say numbers from 1 to 9. Boom. And I'm gonna guess that we're gonna pick number 7. No, in this case we pick number 3, but let's do it again because I feel very lucky today. 1, 2, 3. Okay, in this case I'm gonna say that we are gonna pick number 9. If we don't pick number 9, the video ends here. Oof, I was very close. Two lists become one. Combine them and see your new mega list instantly. Let's begin. In this exercise, I'm not gonna ask the user to enter some elements to create the list. We're gonna do it quicker. And basically, I'm gonna define list number 1, which will be a list of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm gonna also create the list number 2, which will be a second list with numbers 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So this way, when we will combine both lists, we will have a unique list from numbers 1 to 10. Let's do it. I'm gonna tell you a little secret, and it is that there's an existing function that does exactly what we need to do. In this case, we're gonna say list1 dot extend list2. So basically, we have the extend function that does exactly this. We take the list1 and we extend it, adding the list2 elements into the list1. And in this case, we have the list1 already modified, so we can print the final combined list. Let's say print combined list. In this case, I'm gonna print list number 1, as I was explaining. In this case, I was about to run the code, but I realized that we don't have the expected result. Why is that? So basically, I was checking again the code, and I see here that I forgot number 1. So in this case, we want to print list 1. I said that to the camera, but I didn't write it. So that's everything. Now we can test it. Let's do it. And as you can see, we have a one unique combined list with numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from originally list number 1, and also 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which are the elements originally from list number 2. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Your list has duplicates. Let's clean it up and keep only the unique ones. Let's start. First of all, I'm gonna ask the user to to enter some items separated by spaces. So items, it will be an input asking numbers, well, not numbers, just items separated by spaces. All right. And I'm gonna use the split function to create a list of these elements using the space as a separator. Okay, I'm gonna create an empty list to store all the unique elements. So in this case, unique list, this will be a list, as I was saying, empty at the beginning. And now the approach is the following. We will go through each one of these elements we have in items, and we will check if that element is already existing in our unique list. In case it is there already, we are not gonna add it, of course, because we want only to keep the unique elements. But in case that the element is not existing in the unique elements, then of course we are gonna add it to that list. So let's go through every item of the list. For I in items, all right, if that specific item is not in unique, our list that we defined here, okay, do you remember? In that case, we are gonna add it to the unique list. So unique dot append the element itself, which is I. So basically we are using the append function to add an element to a list. And that's everything we need to do in our loop. Now, out of the loop, here we can print a message saying, for example, unique items. And then print our unique list of elements. And that is everything. So easy. Of course, this list is without the duplicates. So it's exactly what we need. Only unique items without duplicates. Let's see. So in this case, I'm gonna start, for example, typing names as John, Arnau, Sarah, Lisa, for example, and then Arnau again, and then I'm gonna say John again, okay? I'm not very original, I know, but in this case, you can see that Arnau and John are duplicate elements in this list. So yeah, let's see. And as you can see, the unique items are John, Arnau, Sarah, and Lisa without duplicates.